Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome to Hungary, where we have been every year since 1986, and here we are again. The Danube River travels through 10 countries, not quite as many as we do, but more than any other river in the world. This 2.7-mile Hungaroring circuit awaits our drivers today, with its 14 tight and twisty turns offering a real challenge in both qualifying and the race. We've seen some true classics here over the years. Remember 2019, when Lewis Hamilton made a two-stop strategy work to chase down Max Verstappen in the closing laps, sweeping around the outside of turn 1? Or the Toro Rossos of Kvyat and Albon, the latter's final race for the team, getting as close as you like through turns 2 and 3 at the end of the second DRS zone. Drivers will need to watch for the curbs here though, as Sebastian Vettel showed in 2014, managing to save a big smash into the pit wall after getting all out of shape on the exit of turn 14. We're in the middle of the Pirelli range once again, and while the softs are quick, they do wear out very quickly. Expect the top 10 to pit around lap 10 for the hards, or try an audacious two-stop like Hamilton did 2 years ago. In partnership with Race Insight, Grid Finder, and Bolidomania, welcome to the PC2 Hungarian Grand Prix.
Hello everybody, how are you doing? My name's Kiklen and welcome to PC2 in Hungary today. With me I have Adam commentating. So how are you, Adam? Are you excited for today?
It should be pretty good. I mean, we've seen some classic races in Hungary, we've seen inclement weather in Hungary. Something seems to happen pretty much every year. So yeah, it should be pretty good. Aha! And the actual lobby has loaded up for me now, so I can actually see people driving.
Nice.
Excellent.
So, like I said previously, we are racing in Hungary. It's a 14-corner circuit, a lot of elevation changes, and it's a very tight circuit. Also very difficult, so everyone will have to be careful with how they want to drive. The tire wear is also pretty high on this track, so we might see 2 stops in the race, as we have 4 medium runners setting a qualifying lap today. But yeah, it is a really difficult track to overtake on, as there aren't any straights, only 2 or 3 straights, but really short. So the drivers are gonna have to be a bit risky if they want to overtake somebody. And as I'm saying that, we have our first guy setting a lap, or actually I think it's someone else. It might be David.
Yeah, if you've got a bugged Aston Martin dot, because I've got a bugged Aston Martin dot. I think the first car on track actually doing his lap is David, so obviously he's gone purple in sector 1, just coming around turn 5. Track limits are quite intense here, and the curbs are massive at some
brutal
places. The chicane that he's just gone through, especially, it can just throw you off the track, and then that's either your lap ruined if you're in qualifying, or it could just be a race over. It could plow you into a wall, and maybe then you need to, pit for a new front wing and things like that. He's managed to keep it in the limits around turn 12, which is one of the big points as well, because you want to carry as much speed through there as possible. It's easy to run it a bit too wide. Keeps it tight around 13, and he's probably going to keep it tight around 14 as well. Yeah, because the line comes quite quickly. Okay, so George's bugged dot is actually George, who does a 16.7. Bettered by David with his 16.1. So David's currently fastest, but we have only had 2 times on the board. As the McLaren of Ryan pits, so he's opting for the mediums maybe and just bailing out that lap, or he's invalidated it somewhere possibly. Michael does a 123.1, so that won't be counted because he's outside the 107%. And MJC, I don't have his real name, the reserve driver in the... Oh, apparently we have a black screen on stream.
Oh,
the
wait.
boss.
Oh. Interesting. Interesting.
Duke goes fastest with a 15.8.
That is my bad.
Jacob.
I'm sorry. But yeah, anyways, as Adam was saying, the David Hoy was the fastest guy on track, but Pavel has beat him with 3/10 of 1:15.8. And Tuka is actually quite struggling today. 1:17.2, our previous winner.
Wow.
Our previous winner.
Tuka in his 6 previous races here in PC2 has not finished outside the top 2. So it will be good to see him struggle for at least one race.
It will be very interesting to see.
He's got a massive lead in the championship with 5 rounds left to go.
Maybe.
So it'd be good to see him struggle in a race. Maybe Greg can get a good result in the Ferrari. Tuka could struggle, and then we might see a pretty tight championship fight going down to the end. If Tuka wins again and Greg doesn't get second, it's kind of championship over. Because it'll be, you know, a 40, maybe 50-point lead with 4 races left. And at that point, you're sort of relying on DNFs.
Currently, Tuka is leading by 43 points from Greg in the Ferrari, who is in the pit lane and has not set a time yet, so that is pretty interesting. So we might
just wait
see...
for the track to rubber in. Maybe he's planning on that 2-stop and wants a brand new set of softs for the end of the race, so he's only going to want to do like 2 runs in qualifying. So
could be.
The best run out of the 3 to sack off is obviously the first one where the track's not rubbered in and you're going to be at your slowest. But it does mean he's only going to have 1 proper push lap, because he's actually going to want to be a bit gentle on the first lap to make sure you stay within track limits.
I guess we'll have to wait and see, but he is risking it by not going out pretty early, because if he wants to set only 1 lap, he might invalidate that one. And
I think he'll go for 2. I think he'll do 2 runs. I think we'll see him on track fairly shortly on his first set of softs, and then he'll go out at the end with everybody else on the second set. Whereas some of these guys that have already put a lap in, especially the ones that have already done it on the softs, so currently our top 7, I think they might be running all 3 sets of softs here in qualifying, and then doing either a 1-stop to the hards, or trying to push a 1-stop with the mediums, but at the end of both stints your tyres are dead and screaming at you. So
as Adam said previously, we have 2 reserve drivers for today, new drivers, Uriel and Matsi, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, driving in Mercedes and Red Bull, so let's see what they can do. Currently in P7 and P9 respectively. Uriel wanting to go on mediums. We have only 15 drivers today, not what we expected, having almost full grids for the entire season. But people are busy, so you cannot change that fact. But the Red Bulls...
so... Sorry, Dino. I've just been reading PC2 chat. Apparently the reason Greg hasn't set a lap yet is he's booted him from the session and he can't rejoin.
Oh.
So I have sent him an invite. That's not working either, so unfortunately it looks like it's probably going to be a re-lobby for the start of the race. And it just means Greg's going to have to start at the back. Which isn't great, but with only 15 drivers it's not as bad as it could be.
I guess we'll have to wait and see, and let's hope that he can fix that. Red Bulls are...
F1 2021 bugs.
Yeah, the usual ones. Red Bull... I mean, Alfa Romeo is looking pretty strong today, P2 and P3 respectively, so they could be...
starting a new lap as well, on a brand new set of softs.
Let's keep on board with him.
To improve on that, maybe catch up that 3/10 gap to Pavel above him. Which, you know, if he made a small mistake on the lap, if he was being very cautious at certain places, 3/10 isn't too hard to find. It's not an insurmountable lead that he's got. Tuka's still sat in the 17s and sat in the garage, so he's currently not challenging at the front. It's actually his teammate George that's putting Aston Martin back up near the front of the grid today. Currently in 4th place.
David Hoy setting a purple sector 1, going through the chicane very, very nicely, not losing the back end as it's very easy to do that. Exceeding the
got away with one there.
Yeah. But he almost extended.
Purple sector 2. And he's 3.5 tenths up.
Let's see if he can manage it.
If he finishes this lap, it's going to put him right with Pavel.
He's risking it all. He's really attacking every single corner and going to the final corner. getting a pretty good exit and enabling the DRS. And he is P1, 115.7.
Half a tenth.
Half a tenth. That is very nice indeed.
Good.
So Alfa Romeo seriously has pace today.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, they've been strong all season. Like I would say, as a partnership, I'd say they're probably the strongest team. Because while you've got the likes of Tuco and Ryan that have been taking really good results in the Aston Martin and the McLaren, they haven't had their teammate up there to fight with them. We could end up getting something similar to sort of last year in Real F1, where you could have both Alfa Romeos near the front with, say, Tuco or with Ryan or something like that, and they can play some team games and bait people into pitting a bit early and things like that. So it's really good to see both drivers of a team both sort of excelling and doing really well, especially in qualifying. There tends to be some issues somewhere in the race. One of them tends to get caught up in some incidents. But if they can get a clean race, get a clean getaway in the first 2 or 3 laps under their belt, they could really start to put pressure on people by playing that team game.
It's also nice that they are both called the David, so that's also
a bit awkward if you want to do an interview with them, though. You just go, David, and everyone goes, yes.
Hey David, are you doing well today? Or hey David, or you other David, I'm sorry. Hello.
One of the Alfa Romeos wins and the other one DNFs on turn 1. It's like, so, how was the race today? You just go, great! Shit! Like, oh.
So, Greg is not in the lobby yet. He has 7 minutes to join, so let's hope that he can. Ryan has not set a lap time yet, but he is on fresh mediums, so let's see what he can do. His teammate Daryl...
we went out for an installation lap on the softs and bailed it, so I think maybe he's seen Tuca's on mediums and gone, I'm going on mediums too.
Maybe. But Daryl is doing pretty well today as well. He had pretty bad luck in previous races, but currently running P5, so that's a really good position for him. Let's hope that he cannot crash like in the other races and score some really good points. Let's see who is on a flying lap. We see Dragos Vlaichu going on a flying lap, going through turn 1, opening the DRS, going to turn 2. Let's see how well he can pass that. Goes to second gear, a short shifts to third, and takes it pretty nicely. Not attacking that curb and going really wide and invalidates that lap. So he will back out of that. Well, but he was faster by 5/10, so that is quite unfortunate.
Elliot in the Alpha Tower has just completed a lap, but unfortunately didn't improve. Oh no, sorry, he came to the pits. He looked to be on a lap. He was travelling quite quickly through Sector 3 and hit some traffic. So maybe that's why he's invalidated. It does say his tyres are 3 laps old, although it's not always accurate. And obviously if he has done 3 laps on those softs, he's definitely going to want to improve on his time. Because they don't last that long here as it is. You definitely don't want 3 laps on them in qualifying. You just want, you know, a steady out lap, quick, and then a steady in lap to keep the maximum amount of life in the tyres. It's the only chance you're going to have of pushing that solo soft to medium strap. Otherwise, you have to go on the hards, which aren't great around here. There's a fair few traction zones where they really sort of struggle compared to the mediums. But they do last basically forever. So, if you have an early incident, you could probably turn it into a one-stop with the hards and get to the end. And we might even see some of the guys near the back starting on the hard tyres, so they can have lightning-fast softs at the end. Hopefully take advantage of a late safety car.
We are on board with Tuca, who is behind Ryan and getting only a little bit of the dirty air, but...
Well, Ryan just finishes up with a 16.9, and Tuca's done a 17.0, so just a tenth between them, both on the medium tyres, in the middle of the field.
But Tuca was really struggling going wide at 2 corners of turn 11 and 9, I think. So nearly invalidates his lap, so he can probably go faster, but a second and 3/10 slower than pole position of David. That's quite slow for our championship leader.
There's quite a delta between the softs and the mediums here, though, because it is such a windy, twisty track. Monaco without the barriers, as they call it.
Could be.
Tuca and Ryan having a bit of a race in on their end laps. Hopefully we'll see more of this in the race. but they need to be careful not to hold up the guys behind them that are on flying laps. Oh, and Tsuka's teammate George has actually gone sideways and into the barrier.
Thankfully, he has not
the
DNF'd.
fast sweeping turn 5. He's lost his front wing, but all the tyres are still attached and pointing the right way. So
let's hope that
he'll
the
be able to
Aston
recover
Martin...
that car to the pits and should, well, might have time to get another lap in. It's going to be quite tight from here, though.
He will have to
Going all
pray
the way
for
back with no
the...
front wing.
Of course, he will have to pray for the Aston Martin pit crew to repair that wing as quickly as possible if he wants to set another lap. David Power is on a hot lap, getting held up a little bit by a Haas and sliding in the chicane of turn 6 and 7, so he will not improve on that lap.
It's the quickest way around it. You can kick the back end out going into that second turn. It's the quickest way around it because you can carry more speed.
Could be, but he is slowing
with the curbs
down.
as they are right now, with the inside... Oh, but he's bailed the lap, With the curbs as they are right now, with those inside curbs at the chicane of both of the turns, it's basically like De La Roggio at Monza. If you try and cut it at all, it will just throw you off the track. And then obviously that invalidates you and ruins your lap. But he's gonna dive in the pits. He might have another set of softs. I'm not sure if he's already done 2. Oh, he might go back out on this set because it has only done sort of, half a lap in anger. And hope to improve, challenge his teammate for pole position. Maybe lock out an Alfa Romeo front row. Which would be good for them. I don't think we've had a locked out front row yet this year from any team. We did have Austria where we had both Haas, both Alfa Romeos and both Aston Martins in the top 6. But I'm not sure that was a locked out front row.
I am not sure. I don't really pay attention to that stuff because I just want to see who's on pole position. But speaking of pole position, David Hoy is on a flying lap. Not improving in the first sector, but let's see what he can do in the second and third sector. Getting very nicely.
In the 10th, though.
Getting very
time
nicely.
to find, possibly.
Let's see. Going through turn 8 invalidates his lap. That is quite unfortunate. He will not have enough time to set another lap, so let's hope that Powell does not improve, because Powell might get a first pole position for Alpine today, but he does run really deep into turn 1, so he might lose a lot of time here.
He's already turned his ERS off. I think he's bailed this.
The only one that can probably snitch P1 currently is Lassie on a flying lap, but he also bailed.
There's still a minute left though, so some of these guys on the track, especially those on their out laps, will have time to get around and start their lap. Apologies. As David Power has pit. David Hoy continues around. Yeah, he was 7 seconds down, so he's going for another lap on this set of tyres.
Jacob is on a flying lap, but getting held up really massively by the cars in front of him, not letting him through. So that is really unfortunate.
Great line through 4 there for David Hoy. Ran it as wide out to the track limits as he could, carried a lot of speed. Clean through the chicane and into the twisty bit in the middle of Sector 2 now. We'll hope to not invalidate here. Yeah, keeps it very safe. Half a car still on the track. And throws it round.
And it invalidates. But he might be in the clear, as not a lot of people have enough time to set a lap time and are on older softs, so he might stay in P1. Let's see, Lassie Rasmussen actually takes P3 from David Power, so Powell is on another flying lap, so he is probably the only one that can snatch this. Our championship leader Tuka is in P11. So that is a really bad qualifying position for him.
He has been checkered flagged, so that's not going to improve.
And Powell spins.
Powell's lost it through 5. So he's not going to improve.
That is unfortunate.
We do still have George on a lap, but he needs to find a second to snatch pole away from David. Finding a second round is quite a lot.
I mean, it's not that hard. You just need to push every single corner as much as you can.
But that's only going to put him P4. That's going to displace the other Alfa Romeo of David Power, but it's not going to get him close to the top 2. With a 3/10 cushion back to Lassie in 3rd. And then another 3/10 from there back to David. So George is going to hope to slot in somewhere around Lassie, ideally in front of him. See what time he gains.
P4.
And it's P4. So he does jump David in the second Alfa Romeo. So he's going to be on the second row, which we're used to seeing in Aston Martin up there, but it's usually Tuka, who has been, who has taken the checkered flag and will have the option of the alternate strategy.
That might come in handy for him, but he will have a enormous job to do, as Hungary is not a easy track to overtake.
He's going to have to focus on staying out of trouble in turn 1, which he hasn't had to do all that much this year. So we're just waiting for the two guys that have pulled into the pits to dive in. And then due to the connection issues with the lobby, we are going to have a re-lobby before the race to make sure we get everybody in and everybody can drive. So if you can grab a picture of the standings for qualifying, or I'll do it, either or. And then we can get Lassie to set that up and hopefully get going as soon as possible. So the only person in the top 10 that will be starting mediums is Ryan in the McLaren, everybody else on the softs. Thank you,
we need to see what the guys below the top 10 will want to do, if they want to start on mediums or softs. But as things stand, David Hoy is on pole position. I think that's his first pole of the season, 1:15.7. Really impressive.
So, yeah.
Really impressive from the Alfa Romeo driver. Powell in the Alpine follows him at the final spot of the first row of the grid. Lassie Rasmussen in the Haas is P3, and George Norton follows him right behind. David Power, the other Alfa Romeo, in P5. Jacob the Ferrari in P6. Daryl P7. Matzi in P8. Ryan P9. Dragos P10. Tuka P11. Elliot P12. Michael P13. Uriel P14. And unfortunately, Greg, who has not set lap time, is P15. So, quite an interesting grid, not expected. I'm gonna be honest with you. I seriously thought that Tuka, our championship leader, would be at least in the top 3. But I guess every track or every person can show us some surprises every now and then. So, are we restarting the lobby?
We are restarting the lobby. We have the green light from the boss, so we're going to restart the lobby. So just a note to drivers to remember their setups, and top 10 on softs apart from Ryan. So let's back out of here and then jump back in on Lassie's new lobby so we can set the grid. Yeah, it's weird not having corner names on the track as old as Hungary.
Yeah, of course.
And it doesn't help, because saying 9 doesn't mean anything to people.
I mean, what can you do?
Yell at the Hungarians.
And it's my neighboring country, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Neighboring.
You have a border with it.
So I at least want to go once there because it's a really cool track, but I don't like driving on it. It's really horrible. But I think watching it in real life could be very, very entertaining. And it's pretty close, so why not? But I need money for that, and I'm really poor.
Well, I'm hungry, if that counts.
Well, I'm also hungry, but that doesn't count. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm starving.
I ate, I think, 40 minutes ago, so I am quite okay.
If we have to re-lobby again, I might just eat a car.
Is the lobby open?
Lobby is open. Yeah, I'm in it. You can join on me.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So we'll just wait for all the drivers to get in, and then we can set the custom grid, and set the weather for the race to be the same as it was in qualifying. We've run the RNG of random weather, but obviously people will be, if they've seen a wet race, they'll be putting on wet setups and things like that, so we don't want to mess it around too much. So we're on 12, so we're missing 3 drivers.
Let's hope that they can join. We are missing.
Yet, which was the problem.
We are missing Matzi, the reserve for Mercedes. And I am not sure who else. Greg as well, yeah, Greg.
Yeah.
And one more person, but I don't know who. Oh, it's David Hoy who has joined. Okay, he joined. Okay, so here's my strategy. I'm gonna put myself in a car. Oh no, I cannot. Oh. No.
I can.
Come on.
Free Mercedes.
So we are really sorry for this inconvenience, but we have to sort this out. So please be patient for at least a few minutes, and we shall start with the action in Hungary. Let's hope that we don't have any Bottasing in turn 1, like in real life, because that would not be good.
Well, I mean, we've already seen some potassium in PC2, so we might see more. Ah, yes, Greg can join.
Greg can join, and we are only missing the Mercedes reserve. So let's wait for him. Oh wait, I actually need to invite him. Oh, that's spicy.
There we go.
I thought that he had that he had Lasse, but I forgot that he only invited me as a friend. Okay. So I forgot that I need to tell him.
That means you won't get to see everybody else's times on time trial and go, oh, I'm really fast or I'm really slow. I'm normally the second one.
Some people are texting me about the weather. I don't know what the weather is because Cody's is really stupid and does not let us see the weather.
That is such a ridiculous. They need to fix that for the next game.
They seriously need to fix
Spectators need to see the weather. Or the expected weather at least, like you can make it like, you know, because it's dynamic and it's not perfect forecasts.
Or
at least
maybe
tell you what they think it's gonna do.
Or what do you think about this idea? Us spectators can choose what weather we want the drivers to race on.
So I want it bone dry for qualifying.
And then fully wet and
intermediate. No, intermediate is for the start of the race, and then it dries out.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
A monsoon for the last 10 laps.
That could be very, very cool.
Every race. Bahrain, monsoon.
Bahrain as well. Well,
yeah.
Let's have a sandstorm there and not rain.
The desert tracks need a sandstorm setting. Yeah. Desert tracks need a sandstorm setting. The UK does whatever it wants with weather, so that needs a snowstorm setting.
I am not sure what we are waiting on. Everyone's in the lobby. Lasse is not in the car.
To pick a car.
Yeah. Can you message him? Quick.
He's readied up. Lasse, pick a car.
Lasse, car, please. Please choose car. Okay. So looks like we are reading up, but this is not good. And there we go.
Okay, he's picked one.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine. Crisis averted.
Am I spectating? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, don't do a Drake from yesterday in F4. Drake forgot to tick spectator, so it threw him in the car.
So we have a message from Luke. I say we make them do Monaco with no barriers around the harbor at night, with no lights and locked to driving above 5th gear and no pit stops. Could be very,
a film
very
like that. It's got Keanu Reeves, a bus, and a bomb.
Yeah. So I would expect that everyone would go in the water because of no barriers. So everyone would be swimming.
I mean, maybe you never hit those barriers anyway. They're not the problem barriers.
I mean, for me, it's a problem, but yeah.
Was it ended up in the harbour? Was that Ascari ended up in the harbour? The old Monaco layout. where instead of having like the chicane like it's got now at the end of the tunnel, it literally just has a flick.
I don't remember.
On the run down to Tabac, and I'm pretty sure Ascari clipped the inside in like the 60s. Pretty sure he clipped the inside, and it just catapulted him into the harbour.
What?
And he lived somehow. He lived, and then I think he died like 3 weeks later in like testing sports cars or something.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's like what? How do you survive something like that? And then like, oh yeah, I'll just keep driving, and then die in like sports cars. That's just so crazy.
The Monaco layout I think changed like 5 or 6 times, so I don't really remember.
I think the Grim Reaper must have been having like a week off that time. So
maybe.
Okay, so the predictions I'm getting from the game is mediums to hards, hitting about lap 16 for a 1-stop, are going softs, and then 2 stints of mediums for a 1-stop. But you can quite easily go soft, medium, soft. So if you're going to do a 2-stop, that's what you should do. You're also obviously quicker.
And almost everyone from below the top 10 is starting on mediums. Only Dragos is going on softs, and Powell has overtaken David in the formation lap. That is not allowed, but
yeah, we're not racing yet, Pavel. Pavel looks like he thinks we're racing.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean, it's the best way.
Tires.
I mean, not that much, but. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. The tires do die around here. But yeah, no, everyone below 10th, so Tuka, Elliot, Michael, our Red Bull Reserve, and Greg are all on mediums. Ryan's on mediums in P9, which is why it looked like Dragos has chosen softs, but he was actually forced on softs, being P10.
Oh, okay then. Interesting.
In the second Haas car. So the leaders now are just coming around to turn 13, which is when the AI takes over and drags you back to the grid. So we should be getting away soon. It is bone dry for the start of the race, at least. So hopefully we won't see any potassium into turn 1, but we are probably going to see contact.
Well,
it's one of those corners. It's quite a long run down to turn 1 and then a heavy braking zone. So we're likely to see contact in that.
When you mention potassium, then we know that there is definitely going to be at least a crash into turn 1, as it happened in Singapore.
And apparently, despite my reminder, both Lassie and Tuka are on default setups.
Oh,
so this could be fun.
Interesting, and
lights.
And we are underway for the Hungarian Grand Prix of PC2, and everyone is going away pretty safely. David Hoyle looks like is in the lead as of now, but Lassie is going around the inside, trying to get ahead of Powell, but he doesn't manage to get that. The David Power has to go around the outside to not have contact. We have a few collisions behind of Matty and Daryl, that is. So that is quite unfortunate. I think that's George. Going, I think, around the outside into turn 3, but I didn't really saw what happened. But he is in P5. I think he has overtaken Jacob.
No, David's jumped George. George is P4. David's managed to jump him.
Oh, okay then.
Both Alfa Romeos in top 4 now. See, Lassie's really going to struggle. If Lassie's on a default setup, he's really going to struggle here in Sector 2, which is where you really want all the downforce. But he's going to be rapid down the straights with the DRS. So he's going to be very difficult to overtake, but he's also going to hold everybody up. So we might see the top 2 with Pavel and David start to pull away a bit from Lassie. But he's kept the gap decent through that middle sector. 2 goes up into P7. He's already jumped Ryan.
Very nice.
And they have Greg right behind them. So, like, 3 of the championship protagonists all running nose to stern on track. In 7th, 8th, and 9th place, and all on medium tyres, so they're on the alternate strategy. So yeah, so Greg is up to 9th. He started last because he didn't get to qualify because the game decided it didn't like him, and he's already up to 9th place.
We have someone in the pit lane.
So Elliot pits on lap 1, so he must have damage to that front wing.
That is quite unfortunate.
And he started on mediums as well, which is unfortunate. But he's going to put a fresh set of mediums on. It's going to drop him a fair distance behind the field. So yeah, he gets that new front wing. So it's a 1-stop from here, but some of the guys doing 2 stops, he might be able to catch up to them. Maybe they're going to have to jump him, because obviously he's not going to get held up in traffic like some of the other guys at the back.
Oh, we have a spin, and the retirement of Powell in the Alpine, who was P2 in today's race, but he has retired.
And that's a VSC.
That is very, very unfortunate.
Slightly late for Elliot, unfortunately. And obviously not good for Pavel, who's lost out of turn 5. He's likely got on that inside curb, the curbs that aren't checker marked here, the pure solid white ones. They're not technically auto spin curves, but they feel like auto spin curves. You can touch them and get away with it, but you're essentially flipping a coin every time you try.
We might see some people in the pit lane.
I was just on board with Elliot as he's done exactly that. And nearly lost the car under VSC in turn 5 because he was like, "Oh, I can touch this curve." It's like you can touch it, you can't mount it.
You can touch it, but if you want to, you are dead. Definitely.
Yeah, you're asking for it basically. It's like taunting an enormous guy. You can do it, but you're asking for it.
Looks like no one has gone in the pit lane yet, so the soft runners are staying out. DRS is enabled as VSC is away, and looks like George
David's built a 1.5-second gap at the front, and George is coming at his teammate.
George and David going side by side into turn 5, but David Power manages to get the inside line and stays in the final podium position. So nice defending from the Alfa Romeo driver. Let's see if he can defend from that position. Drivers behind battling Tuka and Ryan. Looks like Jacob is disconnected from the session.
Yeah, Jacob's DC'd, so this is going to give Tuka tries to round the outside of him through turn 8.
And loses a lot of time. So Ryan is
Ryan's
way closer
there as well. So Greg needs to clear his teammate here and get on the back of these two again. DRS is now enabled again, so Tuka's going to be vulnerable. There's a 3.7-second gap up to his teammate in front. As David sets another fastest lap of the race, he's starting to stretch that lead at the front. It's now 2.5 seconds.
And Greg has also entered the Tuka and Ryan fight. Ryan is using every ERS that he can and DRS as well, but he is just way too far behind. But Tuka goes really deep, and Ryan gets the opportunity. They are going side by side, and Ryan has the outside line, and Tuka is defending it.
Works.
They touched a little bit, but Ryan manages to get P5 off of Tuka. Very, very nice move.
Wow.
But Tuka will want to get ahead of him, but he backs out of that move. Really impressive.
That's not a move that's happening.
Really
you
impressive.
have to be basically completely alongside to make a move through 4. You can't just throw it in because there isn't really a braking zone. You like flick it down a gear and throw it and go, I hope it sticks. And if there's a car on the inside, it's gonna stick you right in their side pods. So you can't really overtake there unless you're already side by side.
As we were watching that battle, George is P3, so he overtook David Power.
The fighting between George and David for third has let Lassie get away. He's got a bit of a gap now. Don't think George is going to be in DRS range. As David sets another fastest lap with a 19.4. And yeah, Lassie's got a 2-second lead over George.
Looks like the tables have turned for Aston Martin, as George is the one that is very, very good today and took us struggling a little bit with pace. But he is probably just trying to conserve and play it safe to not crash into the wall. It's better to secure a points paying position than to crash and get nothing. I need to learn from him.
Well, Ryan's managed to build a 2-second lead to Tuka in that lap after he overtook him. So this default setup's really starting to hurt Tuka, and it's now starting to hold Greg up, and that's giving Dragos an opportunity to attack on his soft tyres.
Oh yeah,
so Greg's
I forgot.
going to have to defend Dragos as well as trying to clear Tuka so we can get after Ryan.
Wait, who has a default setup?
Apparently Tuka and Lassie. Lassie seems to be handling it quite well. He is almost 5 seconds behind David for the lead now as Darrell spins on brand new hard tyres. So he's put brand new hards on and then spun in turn 1.
George Norton and David
Jacob's
Power.
Jacob's binned it out of hang on, out of turn 11, out of the fast right-hander. He's got on the curb somewhere and he's binned it into the wall. The safety car, as of yet, just yellow flags.
Yes, which is very interesting. I think the safety car is unreduced, but I'm not really sure. David and George having a really good battle, but George has spun after turn 1. They had a really impressive battle. George overtook David round the outside into turn 13, but
George has beached the car.
Is he
trying to get back on the
retiring?
track. It's completely beached.
He cannot move.
Oh no, he's got it away. He's got it out.
He's
Oh,
not.
he's done it again.
What? What? What is this?
Apparently this is what the game decides is fair, and, you know, this is going to cause a safety car, surely.
Oh,
Oh, no, it's
he
disqualified him, I
retired.
think.
Well, that
Or he retired, either or.
was.
I mean, I think in that instance you're allowed to reset the track. Like, I think that's the only time. It's probably worth the 5-second penalty you're likely to get. That is really unfortunate for George, and for but it does promote Tuka up to P5, so Aston Martin aren't losing a huge amount out of it. He's now second place of that alternate strategy, and Ryan's managed to catch up to David Power in front of him. Those softs are already dying on the front 3.
Oh, and he's trying to go around the outside of David,
He's going to try a little cut back here, get the DRS down into 2, maybe try a move like he did on 2 and get around the outside.
he is using every single ERS that he
David
can.
defends pretty well. He puts the car nicely in the middle of the track. And Ryan doesn't really have anywhere to go, so he's going to have to sit behind for another lap. There isn't really any other overtaking opportunities unless you get very aggressive. But these front 3 now, their softs are really going to be going off. They're going to be pitting within the next 2 or 3 laps, I would think. Probably lap 8, lap 9, even with the VSC. And that's going to release Ryan and Tuka at the front. Dragos is still sticking to Tuka, and Greg's sticking to Dragos, but he just can't seem to find a way past.
So, as things stand, we are currently...
we have a spin from our reserve Red Bull driver.
That is quite unfortunate.
Uriel, I believe his name is.
I don't think that Hungary is the best track to have your first race on, because it's a very difficult track at this year's game.
In one of the divisions yesterday, I can't remember if it was F5 or F4, there was a debutant who is Hungarian. So making your debut at your home race is pretty good. As Ryan pits.
Ryan doing a massive undercut. As Dragos is trying to go around the inside of Tuka and they collide a little bit. But Tuka leaves the space, they are going side by side into turn 2. And he manages to get around the outside. And he...
bit more contact. Yeah, he's got the line down into 3. He's gonna have so much more grip from those softs. And he actually has ERS, which Tuka doesn't. Tuka's burnt all of his battery. Which is unusual for Tuka, because he's normally sat on like 125% at this point. Tuka just like doesn't spend it. So that promotes Dragos up into P4, so we've now got 4 soft runners at the front. Ryan's pit early and he's put the hards on. Do you think he's going to try and get to the end from here? On the hards?
No way.
They might do it, but they won't be quick. Well, they should do it, but they won't be quick.
If you wanted...
I think he's looking to try and get that undercut on David Power.
Yeah,
thinking that he's also going to go on the hard, so he's not going to be at a tyre disadvantage.
But that was way, way, way too early.
Well, the leaders are going to start to pit now. So David Hoy's in on lap 7, which is a little earlier than I was expecting, but not a lot earlier. Lassie continues on. And both Alfa Romeos are in. We've got a double stack from Alfa Romeo.
So
there
it's
should
like...
just about be a big enough gap. There's about 6 seconds between them. It should be a big enough gap for the guys to get both these cars turned around without costing David Power too much time.
He did
game delay, but maybe half a second. That's pretty good.
That was around 2
stack,
seconds.
That's about as well as you can do it.
I think around 2 seconds of lost time, but not bad. Me and Atzarek really need to learn from these guys.
The game's not good at double stacking. Luckily, I'm in a team where either me or my teammate always loses a front wing, so then one of us is out of sync at least, if not both of us. So we don't really have that problem to deal with.
Dragos has a 3-second time penalty.
Pits in the Mercedes as well and also puts hards on. so far everyone that's pit has put hard tyres on, so they're all looking to go to the end, but we've not seen anybody trying a 2-stop yet.
But it is way
5
too
pit stops all
early.
for hard tyres. I don't think it is. The softs do not last around here. Even a brand new set of softs, you're sort of lucky to get about 12 laps out of them.
Well, that is very interesting. But Ryan
But we
probably
do now
went...
have, which I don't think any of us were expecting, a Haas 1-2. With
I-
Lasty and Dragos.
I mean,
But
in
Tuco
real
is
life,
in
of
Dragos'
course.
DRS range, so we're just going to drag him along a bit as the first of our alternate strategy runners.
At least Tuca has good straight line speed, but he is losing a lot in the corners.
Oh yeah, he's got huge straight line speed, like, he's just closing up to Dragos like something chronic. And I think that's probably the reason he's managed to keep Greg behind him. Greg just, even with the DRS, Greg just can't get any purchase on him out of 14 and down that pit straight. Which you need to, if not pass, you need to at least get very close. But he does have a lot of his battery left, Greg, so maybe Greg's waiting until the top 2 pit on the softs, and then make a move on Tuca for the lead of the race and try and build that gap in Sector 2. That's possible, playing the tactical game here.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But Tuca has lost his teammate, so he does have quite the pressure to score points for Aston Martin to extend their lead in the constructor standings. I think
He's
behind
quite
them...
a lot of VRS this lap. I think he might be paying. I think this might be Lassie's in lap.
Lassie.
Yeah, Lassie
it
pits
is.
from the lead. Lassie pits from the lead. So we'll have to see what Dragos does. Whether they try and double stack as well. Yep, and we've got a Haas double stack as well. Ooh.
Everyone is
Spicy.
double stacking.
Well, Aston Martin won't be. Neither will Ferrari or Alpine. That's their teammates at the time. But that promotes Tuca and Greg up to P1 and 2. But like I say, even with the DRS, Greg just isn't closing down that straight. And David does manage to get ahead of Lassie with that undercut. And that promotes him back up to P3, where he's now going to have to get after these two. But if he's going to the end, and he's only 4 seconds off the lead now, then that's going to be quite a big advantage for when these guys pit, that they're going to have to close up.
So Lassie and Dragos are doing a 2-stop because they pit on mediums. They will probably go for softs at the end of the race. David Power is trying to get closer to Lassie as he only emerged ahead of David. So this will be pretty interesting as they get closer to the Alpine of Michael.
Lassie is effectively P2 on the road though, because the guys in front are all going to have to pit at least once. But he's gone on the mediums as Lassie, so he might be trying that 2-stop. He might be looking to go to another set of softs at the end of the race, or maybe he thinks he can make these mediums last for 24 laps and get them to the end. Where they are going to be quicker than the hards, but they're obviously going to die a lot faster. And I think Ryan made a mistake somewhere on his outlap, because while he was fighting with David Power, he's now 8 seconds behind him. So I think he's definitely made a mistake somewhere. Like he's been jumped by Dragos. And he's on hard tyres, so that's going to be a difficult fight for him to take.
As you were saying that, our championship contenders are battling for P1 in today's race, but after they pit, they will probably be in around P7 or 8, close to Ryan. But this is currently a battle for P1, but looks like Greg is actually losing quite a few... oh,
he loses
gets a
time in
penalty.
Sector 1 because he's obviously running, you know, a Hungary-specific setup and therefore a lot more downforce. But he closes right back in Sector 2. And we've got a spin from Maciej out of 13. And he's now got Darrell right behind him for the final 2 positions, the only 2 guys outside the points right now. But they may both get promoted into the points when the guys in front of them stop.
Both
So they're
two
going to keep racing, and they obviously want to gain positions if they can. Darrell's going to want to make that move, and Maciej is going to want to hold it.
Of course.
Just there's a 24-second gap between them and Uriel in the Red Bull in front of them, and he hasn't pit yet, so that might put him behind Maciej, which would then put Maciej into a points-paying position. And yeah, Greg's closed right up through the rest of the lap. He loses a lot of time in Sector 1, but he's closed right up. But even down that long pit straight, with DRS fully open, he only gains about 1/10 and a half on Tuca. This default setup just makes him impossible to overtake.
But
not
at
quick.
least
but it's good for defense.
Yeah, at least something for Duca.
And Michael's got Lassie. Michael's up into P4. Or Lassie, sorry, trying to overtake Michael, but hasn't managed to. So Michael retains P4 and now has Lassie and David bearing down on him. But these two guys have managed to build a bit more of a gap to Dragos, and Ryan cannot overtake him. He's right up behind the second Haas driver, but just can't make a move. And he's now dropped back 9 seconds from David, when he was fighting with him before the pit stops, about 4 laps ago.
Dragos has the tire advantage of mediums, so that is probably why Ryan cannot overtake him, but...
And this fight at the front's about to get spicy as David's joining in as well. He's now just 8 tenths behind Greg. These two guys at the front on their warm mediums. David's on brand new hard tyres and he's pushing hard. He's closed right up to them. Front 3 now within coverage by just 1.2 seconds. And while Greg does have the DRS to help him defend, he doesn't have this non-custom low downfall setup that Tuka's got. Which is inconvenient for Tuka because it makes him slow in second 2, but makes him impossible to overtake on the straights.
And there is also...
Lassie's managed to overtake Michael behind, down the straight with the help of DRS. Michael's going to try and fight it back, but obviously there's only one detection zone here in Hungary, so you also have DRS down to turn 2 if you got it for the pit straight. Which is going to leave Michael possibly vulnerable to David.
Oh, and David goes around the outside!
David's going around the outside!
And nearly overtakes him, but goes way too deep
Michael
to make that move.
Squeezes him out on exit.
And while this battle is happening, David Hoy is trying to get in front of Greg, as he is gaining a lot of time on them.
Yeah, David's right on the back of this. He was 4 seconds behind after his pit stop, and he's now just 3 tenths behind. He's just got so much more pace in the corners, but he's made a mistake. He got on the grass, and that's dragged him wide, and he's lost a second to the front 2. So he's dropped out of DRS range. His tyres will be a bit dirty, so he might lose a bit more time through sector 3.
I think that this confirms that both Duke and Greg are gonna do a 1-stop, and David might do a 2-stop going on softs at the end of the race. So it will be pretty interesting to see if he can manage that 2-stop and maybe overtake both of them for the win.
I think you could get these to the end. I think you could get these halves to the end. 20 laps left. They've got 5 laps of life on them as his teammate overtakes Michael behind.
Oh,
but
but Michael
breaks later for turn 1.
Michael does a really big dive bomb. Very big dive bomb.
He just parked the car on the apex. That was a good move. But David's going to have another go because he's got DRS again. And manages to get down the inside of turn 2.
And overtakes him.
Yeah, he's clear on exit, so that's another position for the Alfa Romeo driver. Alfa Romeo now running 3rd and 5th. There's 7.5 seconds behind the front 3, and then lastly David and Michael behind them. And Ryan's still stuck in 8th behind Dragos. He just can't seem to clear him. Dragos seems probably running quite a low downfall setup as well compared to everybody else. And it just makes him almost impossible to overtake under DRS. And it doesn't matter how much faster you are through the corners, there isn't really any way you can put the car. The track just isn't wide enough, and there isn't any heavy braking zones where you can, outbrake someone using your fresher tyres.
David Hoy has managed to get into that 1 second that he lost previously in turn 11, but he went a bit too deep in turn 14 and he was way too far behind to try and make a move. He will going to lose a lot of time if he doesn't overtake them as soon as possible. As
he's definitely the quickest of the 3, but his tyres can go to the end. Greg and Tuka can't. I think his priority now isn't necessarily to overtake them. Obviously, if they make a mistake, you can make the move. But I think his priority now is to save his ERS, save his battery power, recharge all that, and then put in some really quick laps on these guys' pit and try and make that an unassailable gap. It's going to put them 20, maybe 25 seconds behind him. Which, if the other guys at the front aren't pitting, that's going to put them around about where Ryan is, maybe even slightly further back. But there is a nice big gap of about 10 seconds from Ryan back to Elliot. As Uriel pits for softs, so we'll be going softs to the end, I think. But that is going to demote him with low massage and out of the points. But he's going to be very quick on those soft tyres.
He might also set the fastest lap. He also doesn't have enough fuel, so he will need to conserve a little bit in these next few laps. But David Hoy is getting closer and closer to Greg. He is using every single ERS and DRS that he can, but looks like Greg is using a pretty low downforce setup, as he is pretty fast on the straight. David Hoy gets pretty bad traction off turn 1 and loses quite a bit of time. But
pits, Mike Pitts in the Alpine, the first of our alternate strategy guys to dive in. So he's going to, well, apart from Ryan, who pit way early. So Michael's in the Alpine, and that's going to demote him down into P9. But he's going to put those hard tyres on. They'll definitely get to the end from there. Just 18 laps left to go. So we might see Tuka and Greg diving in soon and seeing what they could do. But they also could be trying to push these mediums to around about lap 24 or 25 to put softs on and come at David at pace. They're going to have traffic to clear. Pit stop's going to put them behind Lassie, David, Dragos, Ryan. They might just about get out in front of Elliot, but it's going to be tight. But Elliot's going to have to pit again as well, as he pit on lap 1 with the damage for those mediums. So we could see quite an interesting end to the race here. I don't think we're going to see a Hamilton-Verstappen-esque 2019, but it's possible these guys are going to be flying back at David when they finally pit. Brand new tyres, especially if they manage to make it to the window to put softs on. Because David, yeah, just happy to sit behind, conserve his ERS, maybe conserve some fuel. He is positive on fuel, but this is quite a high fuel circuit. It's easy to burn more than a lap's worth. Elliot pits as well, so Elliot pits on those medium tyres, so he's made it a second stop now.
He will probably go for hards.
He'll be putting the hards on, yeah, because he started mediums as well. So he would ideally like to put another set of mediums on, but he doesn't have another set of mediums. And obviously needs a second compound. So yeah, that's hards to the end for Elliot as well. And that demotes him back behind Michael. But he's going to get out ahead of Maciej at least. So he's not really lost anything. He's lost like 1 position. And still Ryan is stuck behind Dragos, now in 6th and 7th, as Michael has pit. David's dropped a couple of seconds to Lassie, so Lassie's managed to build that bit of a gap on those medium tyres. But the question is, can he get to the end on them? The 2 Alfa Romeos definitely go to the end on their hards. Can Lassie get to the end on his mediums? And the same for Dragos as well. Can they manage to stretch those mediums out into the mid-20s without losing buckets of time or picking up a puncture? And still Tuka and Greg lead on the tyres they started on. And they'll be hoping to get into that soft pit window as Greg is really close to Tuka. I think he hits him actually on exit of turn 1. And I think David had to slam the brakes on that.
And
they're all
touch
3 together into 2 and David spins. That's going to lose him a lot of time, and he's lost the position to Lassie as well. And Lassie forces his way around the outside of 2.
Lassie is provisionally P1 after Greg and Tuka go into the pit lane. So that is quite unfortunate for David, but he was really desperate to try and make that move, and he was very impatient. And that's
David's going to be warm. He's going to lose some more time. He needs.
Oh, and Lassie nearly spins, but he manages to save it somehow.
Good save. Yeah, like he's so close to nearly spun it, ghosted his car. The game was like, yep, you've lost this. And Lassie somehow managed to save it. But David needs to stick within Lassie's DRS, and he's also got his teammate right behind him as a bit of a rear gunner for when Tuka and Greg do pit. He's still within their pit window, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Although he's not going to be fighting with them at the moment. But Lassie's tyres are going to be dead by the end of this race. He's going to be driving on the canvas, essentially. So it might be a case of David sits here for a few laps and then maybe makes a move late on. But he's burning a lot of ERS down this straight. I think he wants to get Lassie back.
And he is going around the outside of turn 1, and he does a switchback.
And get a great drive out of the exit.
Lassie nearly loses it again.
He's going to be down the outside into 2.
Let's see if he can do it.
Get around here without this time.
And he
Lassie
does
holds
not.
Position.
Tuka has left the session somehow.
Oh, Tuka's DC'd, and that means that promotes Greg into a P1 on the road. I have to hope Tuka can get back in.
I'm gonna invite him.
Try and invite him. Can't remember his... Ah, there he is.
I cannot find him.
I got him.
Okay.
He's
So
Fuku. So I've invited Tuka, so hopefully he'll come back in. But the AI we run is pretty low. We don't want anyone, scoring points and winning and stuff by not racing. So that has promoted Greg up into P1. Although Greg does have that penalty that he needs to bridge. And Tuka pits. The AI decides Tuka pits.
That is probably not
so
what
this
Tuka
could
wanted.
be a really bad strat. And Tuka's regained control of his car, I think, in the pit lane.
Maybe,
so he might not be happy about this.
Maybe he can switch to soft somehow?
Nope, it's putting him on hards.
Oh no.
Codemasters have decided your strategy doesn't work.
This is going to ruin his entire
It's not ideal
race.
for Tuka, especially with his default strategy. But I did say we needed something to spice it up with the championship, because he was running away with it. Maybe we just need to do this every time. The AI needs to decide Tuka's pit strategy, and he needs to run with default setups.
I mean,
but that's putting 12 seconds now
unfair.
behind Ryan, so he has to slot into that gap between Ryan and Elliot, which Michael also inhabits now as well. And Ryan's still stuck behind Dragos. He's probably getting sick of the sight at the back of that Haas car. His debut race was actually as a reserve driver in a Haas, but I don't think he likes it anymore.
And Tuka retires from the race!
Oh!
He just crashes into the wall, flat out. Flat out.
Tuka rage quits the race because of the AI. Thanks, AI. And that is a full safety car. Full safety car. So that bails Greg out. He can now pit. And he's still going to lose position to this front three, but he's going to lose a lot less. Unless they all pit as well. Yep, everyone's coming in. So the person that's going to suffer the most from this is David Power as the second of the Alfa Romeos. They're going to be double stacking. He's going to lose time here.
Haas is also
and
double
Dragos pits
stacking
as well, but there might be a big enough gap. Yeah, it might be a big enough gap between Dragos and Lassie.
No,
Dragos actually
no
braked
way.
really
no
hard
way.
on pit entry, and Ryan almost ran into the back of him to try and get that gap. He obviously doesn't want to get held up and lose a place.
Drive
through for Michael, speeding under safety car. It's going to put him to the back of the field. He's going to have to serve that within 3 laps of the restart. And, David's lost 2 places to Ryan and Dragos.
He is in front of them.
And Ryan's jumped Dragos as well. Oh no, wait, David's in front. Stupid game. Okay, so that's worked perfectly for Alfa Romeo then. Ignore me. Because David has managed to jump both of these, both of the 2 behind. Greg maintains the lead because everybody behind him pit. But he does still have that penalty. But he has got a brand new set of softs from qualifying. Lassie and David both have gone on medium tyres to make sure they get to the end. It'll be a bit of a stretch for the softs to get to the end. And David Powers decided to go on the softs as well. So we might see a bit of Alfa Romeo team play here. Where David Hoy lets his teammate through with those soft tyres to try and make that move on Lassie if he can't do it. Ryan right behind them on mediums with Dragos in the second Haas. So the front 6 is 2 Haas, 2 Alfa Romeos, a Ferrari and a McLaren. So we'll just give Ryan's car a quick spray paint and then we'll have 3 teams at the front of the big 3. Michael's P7, but he does have that drive-through penalty, so that's going to demote him to the back of the field once the safety car comes in and peels off. Elliot's P8, and he's now going to have that chance to recover from his... Whoa! Just as I go on board with him, he loses it and nearly bins it. He's going to have to be able to recover from that damage he had on lap 1. And hopefully still get some good points out of this race. And then obviously we have Maciej in the Mercedes, who's on brand new medium tyres. Uriel in the Red Bull, the same thing. Our 2 reserve drivers. And Daryl currently bringing up the back of the field in 11th place. In the second McLaren. All those 3 guys have brand new medium tyres. So they'll be looking to move past the guys on the hards with Michael and Elliot. And hopefully get some points. If everyone from here finishes, only 1 person doesn't get a point. And nobody wants to be that 1 person that didn't score. So they're all going to be looking to make up places. Apart from Greg, who's going to be looking to hold his place. With Greg at the front on brand new softs, he should be able to build a decent gap to Lassie. And hopefully, he's going to be able to bridge that gap for his penalty. In order to take the win. All Lassie doesn't need to overtake Greg, he just needs to stay within 3 seconds.
That is going to be the problem for Greg. Those 3 seconds of penalties. But he is on softs, but he will struggle at the end stages of the race. I don't think it'll be all that
difficult for him to get outside the 3 seconds. I think it'll be maintaining it till the end of the race. Because his tyres are going to be screaming.
He's gonna be dead at the end of the race.
Well, these three guys that are still at the back, with Maciej, Uriel, and Daryl, they should all be able to get on the back of the field this lap. Whether they'll get there by the end of Sector 2, I'm not too sure. Depends how quick the safety car decides to go through these twisty parts of the track. So this safety car might be in this lap, it might do one more.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
They're not too far off the back, but the safety car's only got like 3 corners left before it's going to decide if it's peeling in or not. I think it's going to be quite tight. Safety car probably decides around about here, so... Oh, pardon me. So I think we are going to have one more lap behind it.
So...
Yes, we are.
Yes.
So one more lap behind safety car, which is going to give us a 11 lap sprint. And mediums will do 11... softs will do 11 laps.
Oh, safety car is in this lap.
Whoa! That was late. That was very late. Greg's going to have to get on the anchors here to back the pack up. But that's going to give Uriel and Daryl time to close up, and their mediums are going to be warm. Everybody else is going to be cold, rumbling around behind the safety car. They've been going around at a decent pace. So their mediums are going to be pretty warm.
Let's see what Greg can do, and he
he's
starts. And the Alfa Romeo collide with each other!
Whoa!
The Alfa Romeos collide with each other, and David Hoy is... I think still in the race, but he has major damage as Dragos is trying to go on the inside of Ryan. He manages to get that, and Haas is 2-3 in today's race, so they might win. And
in 2016, Greg's gonna have to build this lead. Dragos has a penalty in P3, but Lassie behind him doesn't. He's already managed to build out a second after losing both the Alfa Romeos. Well, them slipping down the field after contact on safety car restart. And Maciej and Daryl have both jumped David Power as well. He's having trouble with his tyres.
And Michael has spun
as well.
He dodged the
so it
inside
seems everyone
curve.
having trouble right now. Lassie's now 1.3 seconds behind Greg. Greg's really put the hammer down to try and get that lead up. Well, those soft tyres are working wonders, but it's how long will they last before their pace completely goes. The mediums tend to be faster after about 6 laps. So whatever gap Greg manages to build, Lassie's going to have 5 laps to haul it back in at the end of the race.
Alfa Romeo have had such a good race today. Probably one of their best, but they bottled it at the safety car restart. Very, very unfortunate. But as things stand, Greg is leading and extending that gap every single lap by a second. So he wants to get rid of those 3 seconds. Lassie and
both Alfa Romeos
Dragos.
and the Alpine of Michael all pit with damage. They're going to be way off the back of the field.
That is unfortunate. Maybe they can get a safety car and get closer.
Another one.
Haas's are having a really good day. Lassie and Dragos going P2 and 3. Ryan catching up to Dragos, who has better pace.
We've been through this before. You couldn't overtake him before. He's going to struggle again, I think. Dragos seems to be running a lot less downforce on the guys around him, and he's just impossible to overtake down that straight. If he can, he's just outside the DRS range of Lassie for when it opens up at the end of the next lap after this one. But I'm still not sure Ryan's going to be able to make a move unless he can be incredibly close through 14. Currently only 2 tenths off the back, but if he wants any more points, he's going to have to make that move. If he wants to split the Haas and get after Lassie and Greg. So again, he also doesn't have penalties. So if he keeps like this till the end of the race, he will jump Dragos on that. But obviously he wants more points and he won't jump Lassie.
DRS is enabled this lap. And let's see if Ryan can overtake Dragos. Dragos was actually using ERS for the entire lap, while Ryan was conserving, so Dragos does not have the same pace as Ryan, so Ryan is a little bit faster.
He's used a lot less than Lassie since the restart. Greg's used less than all of them. Ryan's on mid-60s, Dragos on mid-40s, Lassie's down at 27% trying to keep that gap to Greg, something manageable he can catch at the end. And Greg is on mid-50s. So he's used less than both the Haas cars, and it's Lassie that's really burning through his battery. Maciej in the Mercedes is right behind Elliott now for P5. Maciej pit for fresh mediums. Elliott stayed out on his hard tyres to try and jump some positions after his first lap incident. And Daryl on his fresh mediums is also right up there as well, fighting for 5th, 6th, and 7th place. Elliot's likely to hold up Massiege a bit, and that might give Darrell a chance to possibly move up and get some really good points from McLaren. With Ryan currently P4.
I think that Lassie's situation should be just trying to survive until Greg's softs run out of their wear.
Lassie's
when
medium
they
should be
do,
faster than Greg's soft by about lap 30 or 31.
yes, and
Maybe
if he can manage
earlier,
that until
in which
that
case
lap,
Lassie's going to close that gap back up.
yeah.
But I think he might be managing his pace a little bit. Drivers is managing to stay within his DRS, allowing him to defend quite easily from Ryan. But
We have a yellow flag.
We've got a spin, we've got a crash.
Matzi has retired from the session, from the race.
And
there is a safety car!
Whoa! This is going to bring the Alfa Romeos right back into this. They're going to have to come up from the back, but we've seen their pace today is extreme. So they might be able to do it, although it is a difficult track to overtake on. But we're on lap 27. Safety car's probably going to be in at the end of lap 29, I would think. Which is going to give us a 6-lap sprint race again at the end. So I wonder if any of these guys have got brand new softs left. They could put those on, and then they can be rapid to the end. We might even see some moves through Sector 2. If people want to be really brave. But it does mean you finish, you get points. We've had that before. But it's not raining this time.
Of course. And these final few laps are gonna be Imola all over again, so we are going to have a lot of battles probably.
Greg stays out, as do both Haas cars. The Haas cars, that's
Interesting.
not surprising with their medium tyres. And obviously Greg doesn't want to lose track position.
Of course.
Ryan stays out behind them also on his mediums, and Elliot stays out on his hards. He's going to have to defend quite hard though.
Is that a pun?
Especially if anybody behind him pits. I think everyone's staying out. The only people yet to cross the line are Michael on the Alfa Romeos. Yeah, Michael stays out as well on his old hards. Well, oldish hards. And I think David Power's not pitting. David Hoy on his soft tyres, I think is unlikely to pit, as he already has 1 lap old softs, so a brand new set won't really do anything for him. So I think everyone's staying out, which means we might have a slightly shorter safety car period here. No, wait, David Hoy does pit. Ignore me. I'm obviously full of shit. So David Hoy pits, so that's going to be another brand new set of softs, I would think.
It's interesting how Michael and Elliot have not pitted for fresher softs or mediums at least.
I'm not all that surprised that Elliot hasn't because of the position he's running. He probably doesn't want to lose that 5th place and thinks he can defend from Darrell. I'm quite surprised with Michael. I thought with being in P8, you're not losing all that much by pitting. It would probably dropped him behind David Power and split the Alfa Romeos. But he's only losing 2 points in the championship, and it's going to give him significantly faster tyres. So I am surprised that Michael didn't pit. I will be honest.
I guess we'll have to wait and see at the end of the race. Safety
David's
car.
now over half a lap behind. He's just coming through the split for Sector 1, while the safety car is rounding turn 13. And he's going to have to get it on the back by the end of the next lap. About as long as the safety car can go, really.
This might be good or bad for Greg, as he has less laps to extend his 3 seconds for his penalty, but that might also be good if he can push for the rest of the race. If he can pull away in 4 laps, maybe he can win the day's race. But
well, it's gonna take a lot less life out of the soft tires, so
that
them getting to the
is
end
going to be the
shouldn't as much of a
problem. Yeah.
So he should be able to push at soft tyre pace till the end of the race, whereas Lassie and Dragos are going to be at medium tyre pace, which is a reasonable amount slower. We saw that in qualifying. But we will see if he can bridge this 3-second gap. I think the important thing is he doesn't get any more penalties. If he gets another 3 seconds, it's pretty much done. He's not going to be able to bridge 6 seconds to Lassie. He might just about get the 3, but the 6 is going to be basically impossible without some sort of error from the Haas driver behind him.
If both Haases can overtake Greg, it might be a 1-2 for the first time this season for Haas, but that will probably be unlikely.
I think as well, if both Haas do manage to overtake him, which is unlikely but possible, I think Lassie should let Dragos go and try and just about sit within that 3 seconds of him, maybe 2.8, 2.9, if he can manage it that well, and let Dragos jump everybody else after his penalty. Currently, he would need 3 seconds back to Ryan, because he just needs to beat Greg on track, and they both have 3 seconds. And yeah, safety car is in this lap. David Hoyer has managed to catch up to the back. So the Alfa Romeos are bringing up the tail of the field after being essentially the strongest team in this race. And the Haas are running 2 and 3. They've had a really, really strong race. After their qualifying was pretty good. Last week was P3. But they're going to hope to take as many points as possible out of this.
So
and we'll see if Greg goes at the same point he went before. He takes a very wide entry onto 14. I think, yep, he's going on the exit.
But he doesn't get as much time as on the previous lap. Lassie is on the back of him.
He's right in the slipstream.
Let's see if he can overtake him. He does not risk it, which is, of course, the best idea. Both Alfa Romeos have gained a lot of positions already, going to P7 and P8. So that is really good for them, but everyone else is where they were during the safety car. So now it's gonna be catch up with Dragos, Lassie, Greg, and Ryan. Elliot.
Top 6 stays as they are. The Alfa Romeo swap places and swap back. So that's not team orders. That's just fighting. But Greg's not managed to build any kind of lead to Lassie. It's only 5/10.
Oh, and David Power. David Power goes on the inside of Daryl, turn 8, but he backs out of it, which was probably the best.
They're losing a lot of time to Elliot. They're already 2 seconds behind the AlphaTauri driver.
But looks
and
like
he's on harder and older tyres. And David Power's trying it again into 12. That's a difficult place to overtake.
Oh, and he doesn't leave him enough space. He doesn't leave him enough space and pushes him off the track. And loses...
lost him a position to his teammate. So now we get the other Alfa Romeo in front, having a go at the McLaren. And he gets a really good drive out of 14. Darrell didn't get a great run out of there, and that's going to promote David Hoy up into 6th place. After last place at the safety car restart, he's already up into 6th. Darrell brakes later and runs a bit deep, and that's going to open the door to David Power as well.
And Alfa Romeo's working together.
In one corner.
Working
Great
together.
work from the Alfa Romeo boys.
Of course.
And they're going to have to now try and close up that 2-second gap to Elliot, who has also dropped 2 seconds back to Ryan. His front 4 starting to get away. Elliot's been left in a bit of a no-man's land.
But he does have 12 lap old hearts, so he is probably nowhere in pace with the guys behind or in front of him.
Yeah, he's just not going to have the same sort of grip out of all the slow corners. Especially out of like turn 1 and through the chicane. That's where he's going to be losing a majority of his time. They are the slowest corners on the track. And they are where the hards really suffer. And he gets a 3-second time penalty for his troubles as well. And Davies already halved that gap. He's now just a second behind. So he is going to get DRS next lap when it opens up.
Ryan trying to get ahead of Dragos in the Haas to get closer to Lassie and to try and get the win. DRS is enabled this lap. Dragos is defending as much as he can, defending the inside line, goes on the outside. Ryan does go on the inside, tries to get a better exit, and leaves him no space and overtakes him for P3 finally. And
Good
now
move.
Oh, and
he's
Dragos
only been there for 25 laps. Yeah, Ryan finally manages to overtake Dragos, and he's just 7/10 of a second behind Lassie, and they are on exactly the same tyres, and neither have any penalties. So this is a full race to the finish between these two. Both will be hoping to stay within the 3-second window of Greg and jump him at the end of the race with those penalties.
This might
Currently,
be
they're
a
doing
battle.
quite easily. Greg's soft tyres have not got the pace that they had after the last restart, and he's not able to build that gap. Just 1.2 back to Lassie. But this is going to mean Lassie isn't going to have DRS here down the pit straight, which should give Ryan a really good opportunity to turn 1.
And Dragos as
get
well.
As close as possible out of 14. Well, Dragos has just dropped out of the DRS range of Ryan. It's possible Ryan might get held up slightly through the 3rd sector, and Dragos can get back into it. Yeah, he gets back into it here.
Lassie losing a lot of time.
13 and gets to the detection point. Yep,
And this is going to be a battle for the
Dragos will have
win.
DRS as well, so he's going to be on the back here. And David's going to have DRS on Elliot, and he's going to get a much better drive on his brand new soft tyres.
Lassie definitely the inside line.
And he's going to make that move with DRS down into turn 1. And Ryan and Lassie are side by side. Lassie gets a bit squirrely on exit, but Ryan's going to have the DRS again. And Lassie has used all of his battery. Ryan throws it down the inside.
And overtakes him for P2.
A better line through there. Lassie's all over the track. The back end is not happy with wherever he's doing.
And this is provisional win for Ryan as Lassie runs
that's
wide.
Going to give Dragos P3 as well.
That is very interesting.
With that penalty, so Lassie will jump him on penalties.
Oh, and they collide! The Hasses collide, and Lassie has damage from that collision.
Yeah, he's missing his end plate on the left of his front wing. That's going to slow him down, and that's going to open him up to David Hoy, who's managed to jump Elliot and is now just a second behind.
But maybe he can hold up the David Hoy and secure Dragos his podium. And he is holding David Hoy a little bit.
Goes defensive. And he's going to get DRS on David. David's overtaken a little bit early.
And he does not go in the pit
Lassie's
lane.
going to lose so much time for round 14, he just can't turn the car in. And he's also lost a position to Elliot there, and that's going to give David Power a chance at making up another place.
And Lassie trying to go around the outside of Elliot with a broken front wing. I don't know why he didn't box, but yeah, David Power has overtaken both. David Power has overtaken both Elliot and David Power. David Power and Elliot have collided into turn 3, or turn 2 I think that is. But David Power around the outside overtakes Elliot for P5. So Alfa Romeo is doing a wonderous job to get in the point position. They were the bottom 2 at the safety car restart, and they're already 4th and 5th. Been a great move, great work by those two. And Ryan's now just half a second behind Greg at the front, with Dragos a further 7 seconds back. And he does currently have that 3-second gap back to David. But David's going to close that in on those brand new, on those really fresh soft tyres. He's going to have lost a lot of pace out of them, but Dragos has lost a lot of pace out of his pretty worn mediums as well. They're about halfway through their usable life. So I'd imagine David to close that 3 seconds up. He's right on the cusp of it right now in order to overtake Dragos on penalties for that podium position. And if he can close another second, he might even get P2 and jump Greg as well. As we start the final lap of the race. Just a 0.3 of a second gap between Greg and Ryan. And Ryan's going to look for a move around the outside of turn 1. Greg covers him off. And Ryan maybe cut back and get a move down into 2. Good positioning though from Greg on exit. And I'm not sure Ryan's going to be able to do it. Dragos just sitting in the background, just keeping an eye on all this, hoping they come together and he can drive away for a win. David's hovering around that 3-second window. He's jumping about from 2.8 to 3.1. He's going to need to get a wriggle on to jump Dragos on penalties. But he's gained quite a lot of time through Sector 1. And David Hoy gets a penalty!
Penalty of himself! Oh, that's going to put him behind his teammate. And it means that Dragos is essentially safe for the podium. Unless he loses a lot of time this lap to David Power, who's 3.5 seconds behind him still. And Dragos managing to hold on to these front two. He's going to be losing some time with the dirty air. The Alfa Romeos should probably swap just in case their team, David Power, is getting held up by dirty air from David Hoy. But with just 2 turns to go, I don't think that's going to happen now.
On board with Greg, who is running up the final corner, going to the finish line and winning on track. But because of the 3-second penalty, Ryan gets the win of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Congratulations!
First win in PC2. He's shown the pace, but the consistency's not quite been there, but he had it today. And the Alfa Romeo swap on the penalties.
And David Power only 2/10 off of the podium.
And both finished ahead of Elliot in the Alfa Tauri, who managed to make those hards work. He didn't lose much in the way of positions. Lost to the Alfa Romeos, but they were on brand new tyres and rapid. Lassie unfortunately finishes 7th after that ring damage. Ring damage? What am I on? Wing damage. With Daryl and Michael crossing the line almost side by side in P8 and P9. As our reserve driver Uriel comes over the line to take a point, finishes P10. And he gets a point. Told you, you finish, you get points.
Finally, a new winner.
It's not Tuka! Yeah, but that is gonna close the championship. But what did you say the leader was? 43 points? So with that
43,
P2,
yeah.
Greg is now just a race win behind. So if we get another DNF from Tuka, it's right back on.
This might be very interesting at the later stages of the race, as Ryan is really celebrating that win, and he's British, so you're actually quite happy about
Yeah.
about
But,
him
I
winning.
mean, to be fair, if he was proper British, he wouldn't be spraying the alcohol, he'd be drinking.
But the game is stupid, so you cannot do that. But anyways, Ryan is the winner of the Hungarian GP, so congratulations from P9 on the grid doing a 2-stop, so looks like that was the better strategy.
Safety cars! Well, they pit on the safety cars.
No one will know
Greg
about that.
Greg did a 1-stop, he neglected to pit under the second safety car. And he... Oh, well, both safety cars actually, he pit before it, didn't he? So, yeah, Greg manages to get P2 due to that 3-second time penalty. Dragos gets P3, his first podium, I think. Or first podium this season, at least. And then the Alfa Romeo boys of David Power and David Hoy finished 4th and 5th. So good points for Alfa Romeo, but not the result they were hoping for after strong early pace. Elliott from P12 on the grid manages to get up into 16th place. 6th place. I don't know what's up with me today. I apologise to everybody that has to listen to my bollocks. Lassie gets P7 after his wing damage, which is unfortunate. He was on for a lot better finishing position. We could have had both Haas up on the podium. Michael gets Darryl gets P8 in the second McLaren. Michael P9 in the Alpine. And reserve driver Uriel gets 10th place for Red Bull. And we'll get a point. And everybody below that, DNF. Unfortunately.
And Aston Martin lose a lot of points in the constructors, so they might lose a bit to the Ferrari, who gets 18 points. But yeah, that was
not a terrible race for Ferrari. I think they didn't want a Jacob
not
up there
bad.
as well, getting points. But they did manage to get P2 with Greg, which is going to help them out both in the constructors and the drivers.
So next time we are racing in Spain, or Pain for short,
Pain,
if
definitely Pain.
if you want to call it. But yeah, I think that this race was pretty interesting. It was entertaining. I didn't think that we would have a different winner because Tuka was dominating.
It was pretty nuts, but yeah, Tuka's been absolutely dominating. So it's nice to see somebody else win.
It was confusing how he was
Although
like second and a half.
See Tuka on the podium. That just looks weird.
A second and a half slower, like that's way too much. Way too much time.
Default setup.
Yeah.
Default setups are bad.
But yeah, anyways, we hope that you have enjoyed today's race and stream. We would like to thank our sponsors or partners actually for partnering with us.
Yeah, Roger gets paid for this. I'm not happy because I don't.
Race Inside, Career Finder, and Bolidomania. Thank you for partnering with us. Next time we are in Spain, so we hope to see you there at the same time, 4 PM UK time or 5 PM CST, or how do you say that in English?
I don't even know what it is now, because it was CET. Oh no, wait, it was CEST, because it was Daylight Savings, so now it's just CET, I think, right?
CEST.
I don't know. Fake time. We invented time, ours is the only one that counts.
Yes, of course.
European time, if you're European.
Well, if you're American, you're already asleep because it's like 3 AM, so...
No, it isn't.
So they're not...
It's like midday, if you're American.
Isn't it like in the middle of the night?
No, they're behind us.
They're behind.
You are asleep if you're Japanese.
But most of them probably sleep until 12 AM,
well, yeah, that's
so,
true.
So yeah.
Give them the choice.
Same here. But yeah, we hope to see you next Saturday at 5 PM or 4 PM UK time, and have a great night or day, and stay safe out there, and see you next time.